Hi and welcome back to part 3 where we finally start to fit the kitchen, the bit I've been really looking forward to. I was really quite excited about putting these units in, to the point I started to put them together one night at about 10 o'clock at night. You'll see outside the window it's absolutely pitch black. Now this is the easy part, fitting the legs. I started off with a base unit. I was a bit sceptical about these legs first of all because I wasn't sure what you do with these pegs, but it tops up, you bang them all the way into the little holes that are already pre-drilled in the unit. I was a bit dubious, a bit sceptical, but they're rock solid once you bang the pins all the way home. You then screw the legs in. Once the legs are screwed in, you've then got some little caps that you fit on the top. These are the little caps, as you can see, they just push fit. Now that's the first set of legs done on the first unit, and now I'm going to move over to the next one. I've sped this up on purpose because it's exactly the same process, except this one does have an extra leg in the middle. You'll notice there's a leg missing on the far right. That's because the pegs on that one only had one peg, so it clearly wasn't going to hold. So I'd need to take another leg out of another pack. Now I used a square to get all the legs at the same height. I think I marked them all at 150 to start with. They'd obviously be fine-tuned later on once they're up the correct way. But this way ensured they was all the same height, so they sat nice and flat. And here's that other leg that I was talking about. I'm replacing the 41 out of another pack. As you can see, it's now the next day. I've got all the legs on and I've started to lay the units out and get them into position. Now this close-up shows exactly what I meant by these little pegs that bang into the units. It's a really good design actually, and really sturdy. My plumber friend has also been round as well and rejigged the plumbing to allow for the new dishwasher. So now this is the last two legs. It's a case of putting the end caps on and just getting them to the same height as the others. So I then flip the unit over into its upright position and roughly position it. And then it's time to have a look at the plan stroke design to get an idea of some measurements. So this gap that I'm measuring is to accommodate for the new Rangemaster, which is 90 centimetres or 900 millimetres. I will leave a gap either side of that. I've been told it should be anywhere between 5 to 10 millimetres, but I'm going to speak to the people that fit in the worktops to see what they recommend. Now the gap is slightly too large at the moment, so I'm going to move the unit that will house the fridge freezer. Not a lot, I'm going to move it over slightly to the left. Now this was the only way that I could think to get a true right angle. I couldn't let the units just run along the wall because I know the walls are out for sure. Once I'd found my right angles, it was a case of fixing the units to the walls, which was easier said than done because the beams behind the plasterboard are spaced unevenly. Luckily I'd marked exactly where the beams were, so it was a case of fixing some battens and then fixing the units to the battens. I then moved on to levelling the next unit. This is the units along the back wall. Fortunately, my spirit levels were exactly the same width, which I think was 18 mil, as the end panels. So that came in really handy using those as spacers. It helped me get them into place. so I could see roughly where they were going to go. I then had to start thinking about making some cutouts in the back of the unit to allow for the plumbing, which I'm going to show you now. So I started to take some measurements and put some markings on the unit where I'd need to make the cutouts to allow for the pipes. I thought it would be smart to recheck my measurements. As they say, measure twice, cut once. Okay, so time to make the cutouts with the jigsaw. I've got a vacuum cleaner on top trying to collect the dust. Didn't do anything at all, made hardly any difference whatsoever. But I do like to try and work in a clean environment wherever I possibly can. But this time it didn't really catch much dust at all. And just a bit of a tidy up with the vacuum cleaner and my trusty shower glass cleaner. I love using this. So that's one side cut out, and as you can see this fits absolutely perfectly. I've now got to make some cutouts on the left hand side, which I'm just about to show you, especially at the top where there's a large nut that protrudes. Just got to allow for that and cut that out on this side. So it's exactly the same process on this side. Mark out what's got to be cut out and cut it out with the jigsaw. I won't bother showing you that because it's exactly the same as the other side. So with the unit back in place, it was just a case of making sure the unit was level in all directions. Obviously left to right, back to front, vertically, horizontally and diagonally. I just wanted to make sure it was perfectly level before the worktops go on. Now I knew it was level from left to right along the bottom because the laser, as you can probably see, the green light was telling me it was, but I just wanted to make sure it was level in all the other directions. Now it didn't take a lot of adjustment, it was just a little bit of fine tuning and then we was level in all directions. And the next job was to insert the end panel. Just needed to measure it at the back and at the front because I knew the floor wasn't 100% level, and then I could go and cut that to length in the workshop. So we're now in the workshop, and for those of you that have been watching my workshop build where I've been converting my garage into a workshop, you'll see that it's almost complete, but that will come in a later video just as soon as I finish this kitchen. Now the idea behind the masking tape is when I run this board through the table saw, it should stop some of the splintering, not all of it, but some of it. Now you're probably thinking, why on earth is he putting that back in the box? Now the reason being is it's pouring down with rain outside, which obviously you can't see from there. I just want to protect it a little bit. Well, that seems to fit. All I've got to do now is make the same cutouts for the pipes, just as I did on the unit. And I just need a tiny little spacer just to raise this front edge slightly to make it level at the top. This won't really matter because these bottoms are going to be cut out afterwards anyway when I fit the plinths. Next I fit another end panel. This is the side that will meet the side of the Rangemaster. So I can screw straight into this. The first thing I want to do is make sure it's flush with the front of the doors. That's why I've put the doors on, so I can make sure they are nice and flush. And then I'll screw this in, this time from this side because the screws won't be seen because of the Rangemaster. And that's that back wall almost done. However, I did have to pull that unit out on the left hand side so I could make sure I'd lagged the pipes at the back properly. You can see I could get to them just there, but the other ones I wouldn't be able to get to. So it's a case of quickly removing that unit and making sure it was fully lagged. I then done one final check with the laser and with the large spirit level just to make sure this was all sitting nice and straight. And now that it was finally all in position, it was time to put some screws in to hold it all together. Then I moved over to the left hand side wall. This was going to be tricky because this wall is not a true 90 degrees from the back wall. The first thing I'd done was took some measurements from these corners so that I knew this corner unit would be in the same place as the one on the right, if that makes sense. Once I had in position, I decided to mark the wall to where the unit would finish in case it got moved. And I knew it would have to be moved because I had to take this unit out to put a batten along the back. I needed the batten so that I could get some fixings because where it is right now, I wouldn't be able to get fixings on the plasterboard. So I pre-drilled a couple of holes in the wood, in the batten. These line up exactly with the beams behind the plasterboard. Earlier on in the video you may have noticed I marked where all the beams would be before I put the plasterboard on and before I plastered. So I now know I'm screwing in to battens or beams where I'm going to get a nice solid fixing. I line it up so it's nice and level. And then, as you can see, get a couple of really good fixings. Now, once in place, I knew this wouldn't be at a true 90 degrees where the two walls meet, as you can see here in this picture. So I had to mess around with this quite a bit. Finally got there, but it took a lot of work. But you can see, got it spot on in the end. Now, all I can say is it's a good job that I've got plenty of levels and plenty of measuring devices, because I think it's fair to say that this is on a whole new level. Next was the integrated dishwasher, and this couldn't come quick enough after spending 3 to 4 weeks washing up upstairs in the sink and in the bath, and I'm not joking. I made this little cutout at the back of the unit. This was so we could have access to the dishwasher plumbing. This is a little access panel that you can buy from any hardware store, which makes the job a lot neater. It was actually now starting to look like a real kitchen. And on top of that, the range master has just been delivered too. I then decided the nice little job that I could get on with in the evenings was to fit the drawer runners and the hidden cutlery drawer, which sits behind the main drawers, which you'll see later on in the video. We positioned the sink to see how it was going to fit. We couldn't make up our mind up on the flush option or the overhang option. We even made a temporary worktop to give us a bit of a better idea, basically, but we opted for the flush option. We thought that looked really neat. Now, we decided to have a break from kitchen fitting for one morning, and we went down to one of our local flooring specialists to choose a floor. We knew we wanted a LVT, luxury vinyl tile, something like Antico or Candine. I won't tell you which option we went for, you'll see it later on in the video. Here's a little clue. So it was back from the flooring shop and time to carry on with some kitchen fitting. Next was this corner. The units, like in any kitchen, will never be an exact size, so I had to improvise here and fit a piece in between the end panel and the unit. I'd done this by cutting down an end panel that we had as an extra, getting the length, cutting it to size, and then fitting another panel like a fillet in front of that, which you'll see. So this is the back panel, which I've clamped at the top and the bottom, and then I'm screwing it to the corner panel. So this is the fillet that I was talking about, and this is also a piece of end panel, which is cut down to size, and then of course there is one rough edge. Luckily they give you some end strip which you iron on. You may have seen it before, it's a sticky back, and you iron it onto the rough panel and then you cut it with a sharp blade to make it nice and neat along the edge. It's obviously cut to length, and this is the finished result. Next it was on to fitting the butler sink. Now I must admit I wasn't looking forward to this. I've never fitted one of these before, but it was actually quite easy. You make a cutout first of all. Once you've made your cutout, you plumb the waste into the sink like you would any ordinary sink and drop it into position and fit your waste underneath. Really quite simple. We was now starting to get somewhere, and it was starting to look like a kitchen. The electrician had been round and wired in the cooker. He run the cable so that was nice and neat, and the cooker switch would be inside a unit. I then made some cutouts for the end panel where the fridge freezer unit would go. We had a bit of an issue with the fridge freezer unit. As you can see, it's been poorly made at the factory. One side was 2 to 3 millimeters higher than the other side. There wasn't much I could do about that because I'd already fitted it. We then had the job of getting the fridge freezer in. So we come up with this little device and slid it in, then got the doors on, and yeah, that was that done. So after getting the hang of fitting integrated doors, I decided to fit the integrated door on the dishwasher. I then moved on to some smaller tasks like fitting the cup handles. So we'd reached a point where we couldn't really do any more because we was now waiting for the worktops. The guys had been out and templated, and we were just waiting for them to come back and fit them. So that's pretty much it for part 3. Hopefully I'll see you all again very soon in part 4. As always, thanks for watching.